late. So he will be back in 15 minutes, but it's already 30.
Good.
It's 30, yeah, it's 30.
Well, we're being recorded, so I could just say to you, good evening, Nenad Bach. So happy to be back with you on your amazing program. And I know, as I said before we were recording, I was always taught if the band doesn't outnumber the audience, you're a big hit. So if there's more than two people watching, we're in the charts again.
We lower our standards. If it will be big success if we lower our standards.
Well, it's only one person at a time, whatever you're doing. So I remember when I played the Montreal Jazz Festival, there was hundreds of thousands of people as far as you could see. Someone said, "Aren't you nervous?" I said, "Man, this is a piece of cake. There's several 100,000 people. At least four of them have to dig what you're doing, even if they think it's someone else." So basically, you're only playing for one person at a time, and that's all there is in life. So if you could touch one person, you're doing a great thing. And I think of all the one persons I knew that changed and continue to change my life, and that's what it's all about.
Well, if we are attached to the outcome, we wouldn't do what we do.
Oh, of course.
If we are attached to the outcome, chances are so small and low that it's not worth it if you want to success.
Well, I think it's more if you're lucky enough to have been given a good idea or a good thought, you try to kind of pass that on.
You know.
So this new piece I'm writing, I'm worrying about this and that. I said, wait a minute, this is actually going to be played. Settings of Jack Kerouac's ideas about being in Greenwich Village, and it's for the village trip. And I thought, well, wow. I managed to get parts from The Lonesome Traveler, and I knew Jack and hung out and lived in the village where he used to come and visit. And here I am. He passed, back in 1957. We did the first jazz poetry readings in New York, and I used to play for him. Here I am taking a book of his all these years later, one that I loved, and when he was writing about the village. So I thought, well, I have to cut down, as I did with my operas, from in order not to make it too long. But it's just such a privilege to do it. And I figured, wow, even if one person hears it and wants to read his book, or maybe they want to be a composer, or makes them feel good, that's just terrific. And how lucky it is to be able to do that, as opposed to the way we're brought up in America, which is everything you do should be a colossal, mega fantastic. And if only 4 million people watch it or see it, you're a total flop. All those things that have nothing to do with anything except full greed ahead, mass production, and then throw it in the landfill the next week. That's fine. But I think music much more important and more meaningful than that. And if you don't do it because you love it, then you'd be better off doing something else that you do love.
So say hello to Michael.
Good.
David, Nenad, apologies. I missed the opening Vorspiel. Did I miss a lot of good things, David?
Michael, I was forespieling myself talking to Craig Lucas, who just wrote a new book he's going to send me to check out.
Oh, have
And
you
then,
mentioned the project to Nenad that Lucas is working on?
yeah, this is one he has. He's a conga player that's also a journalist, if I'm speaking the right
I'm
name.
mentioning the fellow who is making the film about Manchurian Candidate.
Oh no, no. He's going to be in touch with me. Thank you for doing it. That's a different guy. This is
Okay,
a,
wow.
a fine, and I'm trying to think because I've got his emails. He's a conga player, a musician, and and he's written a lot of different books. Let me see if I can find it on my phone because I think.
While you're doing that, I apologize. Traffic, Nenad, and Doug Yeager called. He's having trouble. I don't know why, because I immediately was able to get into the room.
Oh, good.
He's struggling. He wants to come in and hang out with us.
Is he feeling okay?
Yeah, I think so. He was worried about you, David. He told me you're dealing with some health issues.
Oh, no. I had
You're fine?
COVID, but for the first time, Cyrus the virus finally entered the room. But then I guess he saw this guy's from Chicopee, Mass.
Oh,
And wait a minute, it's on the. I can tell you. Can you wait a second? See if I can go on. If I get off, I'll come right back. If I get off Zoom, I've got it on my. Here we go. Are you still there?
Yes, we're here.
yes.
Okay, just a second. If I can figure this out, he just sent me his. Oh, here we go. Nenad Bach. I've heard the name. Now, Nenad. I finally said it right after 36 years. Let me just see if. Oh, here we go. Craig Harris. Did I give it? Oh, I said Lucas.
You did. That's why I thought of Lucas, this
Well,
fellow, Swiss American.
that's not Cyrus. That's not COVID. That's senility. Yeah, his name is Craig Harris. I was close. Craig Harris. He has a book called Drum Away the Blues. And he's written a lot of different books. But I remember I spoken to him, and then he just called up, and when Nenad called up, and he's writing he's a drummer. He just wrote a new book. So I'd love, any book that a musician has written always is interesting to me, because we have such amazing lives and amazing stories that we're privy to. And I never met anybody that wasn't interesting, even when they were disillusioned and burnt out and angry. But I've tried to avoid that syndrome. But essentially, every musician has a good story to tell. And then when you hang out with enough musicians, you realize everybody in the world has a good story to tell.
Exactly. Everybody got a story.
But listening, of course, is what we're trained to do. So I'm going to shock you both by being quiet and listening to what you guys have to say. And someday, Nenad, I just had a brilliant thought, I think, if they could get some great vegetarian.
Just the new link, and Amram's talking, and you are there.
Yes.
No, I was thinking they could have people calling in,
Please.
like
Okay,
Doug Yeager.
Douglas is almost on board.
Good, Doug. How are you feeling? Whoops.
Oh,
Technology.
Oh,
Technology.
Can you hear me, guys?
yes.
But we can't see you.
I know. I've had this problem for a week. I gotta find some 14-year-old kid in my building
You're maybe invisible. That's the problem.
to show me what to do. But anyway, I can hear you well. I'm sorry you can't see me, but that's not a
Lower
loss.
gloss.
Did you see us?
And
Yeah, right. Not as long as you could see us, Doug.
I see all of you well, except Sputnik's very dark.
Oh,
Oh.
jeez.
Yeah.
How do
me
I get
just
more
see.
light on?
Launch meeting. I'm trying to. Oh, do you want to open Zoom up? Allow. No. Oh, there we are. I can see Sputnik. But where is Doug Yeager?
He doesn't want to appear.
He's missing.
No.
Isn't there a camera, Doug? A button you can push?
Yeah, I've tried.
Yeah, see.
tried.
In the lower left corner, it said start.
It is.
Video.
Stop video, and I did that.
I'll start it.
Now move something from your camera. You have a paper on your camera probably. Somebody put the.
Somebody might have put paper on your camera.
No, the camera's on top of my screen.
Okay.
It's just not
Not cooperative.
it's just not working. But
Yeah.
I think you may all remember what I look like.
Yeah.
So in 100 years from now, everyone
You can
their
put
head
your
and say
picture,
that's the way they behave.
now you can put your picture there. You see, I'll show
Yeah.
you how. You see,
Ah,
like you see my picture now.
how did you do that?
You start video. You choose. You click an arrow next to the start video, and you can put your picture there.
Okay. Well, instead of us waiting 10 minutes for me to figure out how to do that, let's go with my voice instead of my face.
So I want to share you something like 2.5 minutes
Okay.
that Facebook did on me. They spent 2 days with me. Facebook Meta.
Can we
Okay.
ask Nenad, where are you tonight? Are you in Europe?
I'm in New York right now. I came
Oh,
back
okay.
15. I'll tell you a little bit of story, but let me try to share the screen now.
And we're all anxious to hear of your tour of Europe.
Let me just see. Desktop. Here we go.
Oh boy.
Wow.
Wonderful.
Music is a passion. Music is a magic. There is something divine in it.
Great.
That's a
I was diagnosed with Parkinson in 2010. I didn't know what it was. 5 years later, I could not play syncopation on the guitar. I was stumbling with my fingers and all of this. So a friend of mine invited me to play table tennis. And I felt the next day much better. If it helped me, it could help other people.
Let's play some ping pong. And on this time we're gonna
So that was the whole premises of organizing Ping Pong Parkinson.
no mercy. Okay.
We are competitive. You wouldn't believe it. A friend of mine told me about table tennis on the Quest. It involves you exactly the same movement that you play in real life. Okay, let's play. Okay. And also you can play with anybody in the world. Changed everything for me and many other people. All right, all right. It's also a support system, so you don't feel alone ever. Ping Pong Parkinson is thriving all over the world. Oh, and that is my heart. I don't feel I have Parkinson when I play. I'm free completely.
wow.
That's great.
Nenad, was that virtual ping pong you were
Yeah,
playing?
virtual, yeah.
Wow.
Amazing.
I
Incredible.
saw that.
If you want to play PC VR games from the Steam VR platform, like Half-Life Alyx and Star Wars Squadrons, on your Quest 2 headset, then you've come to the
Stop
right.
here, the technology, with allergy technology. Not technology, but technology. So anyway, so I traveled through a couple of countries. I want to hear David, what he did. He did some incredible stuff. I'll tell you that I traveled through Portugal, Slovenia, Germany, and Croatia, and Texas.
Wow.
Did all of this. I have a huge bunch of medals. Like I sound like a cow.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Great.
You know, like the cows when they walk with the ring.
Yeah.
That's how
Watch out, David. He has a few things to wear.
Yes, you'll have more things around your neck than Amram will.
If you keep going at it.
Anyway, it was fun. It's only my luggage was lost for 15 days.
Oh,
My microphone that I use for the HANGOUTOLOGY lost. All my jackets and shoes and everything.
Oh my.
So that was hopefully I was lucky that to get all of this pretty much intact.
how did you find it again?
Well, they delivered finally after me pleading so badly
Wow.
for 15 days. The whole traveling scene is really not secure.
Is it the same problem for traveling within the United States? Like,
Everywhere,
you had any issues with your travels with
everywhere,
being lost?
everywhere, because they lack people, workers.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, it's, the whole world is tilted a little bit.
Yeah.
Anyway, David, tell us where did you perform last?
Well,
You're on.
since we only have an hour, many places. I was lucky to be in all of them, and now, having had Cyrus the virus finally visited after all these years, and I'm now just about completely recovered from COVID, which I finally got after 2 shots, after 2 booster shots, after getting the home tests with my children guiding me on Facebook.
Oh.
It's how, or not Facebook, or the computer, whatever, FaceTime. I forget what you call
FaceTime,
it.
right.
At any rate, I said, I'm negative, I'm negative. I still felt crappy, but felt better psychologically. Finally, Doug Yeager told me the good vitamins to take and to get some sleep, to stop talking and just calm down. And I still felt crummy, so I went to the urgent care, and to my astonishment, instead of telling me to go home and come back in 15 days after I took an aspirin, I was told by the doctor later on, man, you got it. I said, uh-oh, I'm 91. I'm on the high risk death. I said, I'm too young to die now. So my daughter called up, and Adira, she was amazingly got me in touch through a telephone with some doctor who asked me why I wasn't given the urgent care doctor letting me know. So I got some stuff that you can get over the counter if a doctor prescribes it. And sure enough, I'm just about recuperated. So it just makes me realize more than ever how lucky I am to be alive, and to celebrate that and try to be healthy and encourage other people not only to be creative, but to be healthful. So I'm trying to take Doug Yeager's advice to me and what my kids tell me and apply it to other people, and try to apply it to myself when I'm in time. So I've just been sitting at home all day writing music and not answering the phone or doing anything. And it's a treat to be with you. But I will show you my respect by listening.
Oh. But David, there was so much that occurred before this. You were traveling for the last, 2 weeks?
You mentioned a little bit.
You
were in Texas or Oklahoma?
Oklahoma and so many different places. But so are airline hostesses and people. I'm just happy to be alive and to know that all of you guys are here and healthy, and all the things that we have to do. I think in this crazy world, that being in the arts or doing any kind of a job because you love it and you want to do it well is more important than ever. So rather than feeling that the world is coming apart and we're not welcome anymore, we should just all give up all the super swine having their field day are now showing that maybe there's something more important than just being a big hog, loudmouth swine. So therefore, I'm going to make an effort to be more economical and quieter. So I thank all four of you and our millions of listeners. And I hope, Nebit, what you do is so interesting and unusual and beautiful that it would be great if we had some other people who could come up, if it's possible technically, for them to phone in with a question, just for any of us who are on. We can all ask. Someone asked me about Sputnik. I said, well, if he's late, of all responsible people in the world, probably the transmission on his bicycle or the gas container, maybe if he didn't get a speeding ticket, maybe his bike broke down. Because I know in the worst traffic in America, he can get anywhere on his bicycle. And he's not only speaks 7 languages and plays the accordion and all that stuff. He's also gets around and is healthy enough to avoid any kind of traffic problems in the next 100 years by using either the footmobile or the bicycle.
That's right. And I strive to always be on time for hangoutology.
That's the key.
That's important. But yeah, it's a very mundane reason, David, I have to admit, but it's a big problem out there. My nephew is living in Long Island City. He has an expertise. He graduated law school. He is an expert in maritime law. So he's just starting out his career, and he and his partner, they're living in Long Island City, and their rent was raised to an astronomical level, like 39% raise.
Oh my God.
So they're out apartment hunting, and we spent a little time in the Rockaways today, just because I have a little fixation on that topic, and be a good expert to kick the tire a little bit. And we went to a few places, and so it's in the mix. But I the practicality. His partner is she's an actor and doing Broadway show type work, and to get back and forth to the Rockaways from Manhattan and to travel late at night, it's quite a difficult thing. So all the practicalities of such a move. Otherwise, Harlem, Brooklyn, all the usual suspects are being considered. But I love the New York City when that the other neighborhoods are talked about and treated fairly, and we're seeing nice things happen in those places that don't never get that much coverage. Over the last 30, 40 years, there are these areas that are starting to see that little bit more sunshine and more attention. And, for a city to remain vibrant, it's all the parts working together, and, appreciation, respect for each other, for its strengths and sometimes weaknesses. And, their neighborhoods, they provide all the hardcore, the solid workers, and, do things. They may not be the intelligentsia, type areas, but these are the people that we wouldn't have in New York City if we didn't have these kind of people fixated on doing their job responsibly.
Amen.
And, I love these neighborhoods and that kind of Queens. So it was a joy today to go around with them a little bit and see stomping ground where I grew up.
I have a question. How did they come with 39% increase? How did they come to that number, 39?
I know, isn't it something? I think it was technically 30%, but then there were more factors that were applied.
Not 40%.
The hocus pocus,
Yeah.
Go ahead, Nenad.
Not 40%, not 20%, not 30%.
Oh, why it's 39? I know, that's what it worked. It was technically 30%, but I guess in actuality, when they rechecked numbers on them, it's really, they figured out ways that it's technically, it was 39%.
Well, they call it in the philosophic circles full greed ahead.
Yeah, it is.
When they said, damn They call damn the torpedoes full speed ahead. I think Admiral Farragut said that. Well, the newest thing is hogomania, full greed ahead. And when that becomes our picture of what the ideal person should have in their karma, that there's a sucker born every minute, that no one knows the difference, that nothing makes any difference, and there are no values, then the only thing left is full greed ahead. Except if you do that in diet, if you don't die from being overweight or get a heart attack, you get what's called the gout. And the gout people get because of being too greedy in their eating habits and destroying themselves. And your body says, man, you got to put that foot up because you got gout. And it comes from overindulging more than you need. And the full greed ahead, the best example of that, I guess, was poor Howard Hughes, who had all the women in the world, airplanes, movie studios. One of the most successful people just ended up an old, lonely man with long fingernails, hair down over his shoulders because he didn't trust anybody, I guess, to get a haircut, renting whole hotels, top floors, and being just a hermit surrounded with flunkies and peeing in bottles. And he was the example as a 91-year-old that I was grown up thinking, man, if you could only be a big shot like that, that was the key. And I think we all have to get over that. And landlords, the righteous landlords never get any permission of those who might say, how are you feeling? Or is your refrigerator working? And now that I'm a renter again, I'm so used to being treated by the first landlord I had in Greenwich Village when I moved to 6th Avenue after I'd been on the Lower East Side, because the other ones didn't care. He was really nice. Mr. White, he was great. He'd come by and he hung out with everybody. Then they got someone else who was so evil, finally the whole block was thrown out because the judge was paid off. Even landlords I knew at the White Horse Tavern, and then at the wonderful Lion's Head, where everybody from policemen and landlords and criminals and regular people and a lot of people who like to just hang out all exchange information there about everything. Even the landlords hated this particular landlord. He was and they explained to me that the full greed ahead was there were some people that were so greedy that they wanted to be on the top of the greedsters list. And that's not just landlords. That could be anybody and everybody. The Cornelia Street Cafe, which is like a heaven, they raised the rent over the period of time until it was $34,000 a month.
Wow.
The only way you could afford that would be to charge $100 admission and sell dope and have a trust fund just to pay the rent. So Robin, unfortunately, and the building is still boarded up. Well, you know something? If you get fixated on that, you can just get discouraged. And so I guess all we can learn from the full greed aheadsters is to understand that that's a syndrome, just like the COVID is, that when I took those pills, there's a way of curing that illness. The full greed ahead is a mental illness, and it's destroying a lot of economies, a lot of cultures, and destroying our planet. However, it's not the only thing that's happened in history that we can avoid, but it's something that's so obvious now, we ought to start thinking about that and remembering that we're only as strong as our weakest link, and we got to support each other.
I wrote a song on Bob Dylan's music, My Back Pocket, with a friend of mine, John T-Pain. We wrote a Ping Pong Parkinson song. I don't know, really, I need to read to play if you want to hear it.
Yes.
Sure. Yes.
So let me just try. It won't be great, but it's a practice for me. It's called ping pong Parkinson. And I never play with pick, but I'll let me try this time. It started with a tremor, and it's shaking up the world, climbing stairs to heaven and bringing down the walls, wasting time at traffic lights, not getting there somehow. But I was so much weaker then, I'm stronger than that now. A thousand ping pong patriots challenge diagnostic doom. Across the net they smack the ball to cheers around the world. And if the world cries out for truth, science holds its tongue for now. Our soul was so much weaker then, it's stronger than that now. Equality, an empty word that echoes equal pain. The crowd rode out, make peace not war, their open doors await. They say to turn both left and right, but we go straight somehow. Oh, but we were so much weaker then, we're stronger than that now. Do some solo here, but we call it ping pong Parkinson. We're coming to your town. We play our game with crazy joy to bring the monster down. When they count the final score, we'll be on top somehow. But we were so much weaker then, we're stronger than that now. Something like that.
Great.
That's Bob Dylan's song, but we did the different lyrics.
Yes.
Yeah. And what a wonderful melody that is too.
Yes. Great song. Nenad, you said when Parkinson's first hit you, you couldn't play the guitar any longer.
That's true.
And so after you started playing ping pong, how long did it take before you could play the guitar again?
3-4 months.
That quickly?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Syncopation, specifically. This is syncopation. On the song, I Had Another Life.
Yeah, you could sing too.
That's syncopation. I couldn't sing that. If I had another life, I would never walk straight. All the things I love to do, other people love to hate. In my ears, and my head on my feet, park the car in the kitchen, take a bath in the street. I love ping pong, I love bounce, love the Three Stooges and those crazy drums. I like lovers who don't vote the same, and lying on my bed in the stars and the rain. Oh yeah. Now, if I had another life, I would run, 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 have some fun. But seriously, if I had another life, I would run for president, feed the pigeons in the park, never paid the rent. David Amram, Secretary of State, declares money illegal. Now wouldn't that be great? I love ping pong, I love bounce, anchovy pizza, and those crazy drums. I like lovers who don't vote the same, and lying on my bed in the stars and the rain. Oh yeah. Ooh, oh yeah. If I had another life, I would do it all again. Run a movie from the middle, thinking to get the end. Try to miss the target and win the biggest score. Tell my dad I love him like I never did before. I love ping pong, I love drums, I love the honeymooners and those crazy drums. I like lovers who don't go the same. And talking to my father in the stars and the rain. Oh yeah. Ooh, oh yeah. Now, if I had another life, if I had another life, if I had another life, if I had another life. So that's one. I'm thinking.
Great.
I want to play in the Sing Sing prison for people.
Great.
You know anybody who can connect me with these people?
Doug, can I suggest something for Nemed's sake?
Yes.
The people that at the Figaro, whom we met and played for, they're both from Croatia.
Yeah. I tried to connect them to Nenad.
And I told them about Nenad, and they'd heard of you, and they're right in the village, and they're nice people. The woman's fantastic, runs a library, and he was a very smart guy, and they're hardworking people, and they got a beautiful place, and they're going to have some live music. That would be a place just for them to meet someone like yourself who's from their home country. Would just be a start. Man, if they could, what you were just doing, if they could see that, I'd pay to come and see that, and so would a lot of other people. And more than that, it'd be wonderful just since most New Yorkers don't know about ping pong or about your being the King Kong of ping pong, or maybe some of the people you've done, and a lot of people.
Remember that one?
Yeah, and a lot of people don't even know where Croatia is.
Yeah.
It'd be something that would only be good, and it'd be good for Greenwich Village in New York and all the other people, including older people who don't feel so healthy, and younger people that do feel healthy that are scared of older people, whether they're unhealthy. It would be nothing but pluses in the full greed ahead time. The 39% renters would have something to see that's positive and beautiful, and be a wonderful thing. And maybe that could start out just on a simple way. Maybe Doug and I could go down, have you come there.
Okay, that was my whole thought. Is there any chance that we could meet there one evening?
Sure.
Can we go beyond virtual? Can we?
Yeah, better.
For real?
His name is Mario Škarić. Yeah.
Yeah. And
You had an exchange with him already.
And not with the bodyguard and an agent saying, you gotta put up $40 million or I can't answer the phone. Just to go down as fellow mammals or human beings we could be a mammal, but we can't help the whales yet. Just fellow human, two-legged, as the Native Americans distinguish people from all the other brothers and sisters, which is two-legged, four-legged, winged. That's something else. But we start off simply, just as fellow men and women, just what you said, Spoody, I'm Doug come too, just to go down, not to hit them up for a gig or ask for a donation before we say hello, just for them to get a picture. That was great, man, to hear you sing and do that. Boy, that song you wrote, man, you're terrific. That was wonderful. That was very inspiring.
Maybe we should do something together.
Sure. I could hear a drum part. We could hear, I've already seen you on the YouTube with when we were with the symphony, and the people in the symphony were smiling because they were enjoying it and not saying, oh, God, we got to play with some pop artist that out of tune that isn't playing crap, and we're just here all playing whole notes, and we could be doing something else. They were checking you out and enjoying themselves because they were part of a warm musical, civilized, artistic experience. And that's the
David, we
whole
both noticed
idea.
that. Like the people in the fourth, fifth stand in the violins, right? All smart,
Yeah,
playing their long notes, having the grandest time, right? Yeah.
sure. And I could see that when they played with Leonard Cohen and he did programs and a lot of people that you wouldn't have associated necessarily with the symphony, but they all feel good when they're with something that's good. And so does any audience in the world or any group of people in the world.
Mm.
So the corruption of all of that has nothing to do with anything except the general corruption, and that will all go in the trash can as history provides the infinite landfills and sewers, and the beautiful stuff somehow remains. Because as Stravinsky said, music expresses itself. And you just did that, Nemeth, when you were playing. Boy, you even made an old 91-year-old codger, now recovering COVID non-personality, feel good by your wonderful playing and singing and the scat rapping style in that last blues. That was some terrific stuff, man.
Thank you.
So nice to hear that.
Beautiful.
I'm just writing Stravinsky's quote.
Music expresses itself. And Stravinsky said that, not me.
Stravinsky, yeah. I love Stravinsky, by the way.
Me too. What a guy.
What an artist.
Yeah, he was something.
Yeah, that his music expressed itself for sure.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
They said to him, how the heck, how did you ever write that Rites of Spring way back then? And he said, I was just the vessel through which the Rites of Spring was created. In other words, he was getting that from that big thing out there that we'll never understand, which is that magic of music, the great unknown that surrounds us if we pay attention. And he was able to capture that, and that got him into it.
We just have to be sure that we're fishing upstream from Stravinsky, not downstream.
And there's a lot of other people too that we could spend the whole program mentioning their names. Well, that was great. Doug, you should say something, even though we can't see you.
Well, I was going to
Yes.
say that this all started with Nenad asking a question. Do any of us know someone who could introduce him to Sing Sing Prison?
Yes, that's
Oh,
correct.
yes, yes.
And then you, David, said, well, let's first go to Figaro.
Right. You took it to figure out, but we're on a journey. So how do we get to Sing Sing?
Yeah. How do we go to Sing Sing?
Well, if you go rob a bank,
Wise
I
guy.
think you can get there pretty soon.
But not so to Sing Sing. That you have to be specialist.
Yeah.
I'll end up in Yonkers. That's not good.
Nenad, is there a reason for Sing Sing? Is it because of convenience? It's close to you?
It's in the same town. And also, I would love to sing the song If I Had Another Life. I would love to entertain these people, if possible.
Could it be that Nora, Anna, having lived in Ossining, that they might know someone? I wonder.
You're right. Maybe.
Good question, Anna May.
Anna.
Anna is listening.
There's a guy named
lived in Ossining.
John Flynn, who I played on one of his wonderful records, the song he wrote about his mother. And he plays mostly, he's been at all the folk, he's a fantastic singer, songwriter, folk musician, but he also does a lot of time playing in prisons. And he would know probably every organization that does that, because he's a musician.
What's his name?
John Flynn, Flynn, and I don't
But I
have his
think it's a good suggestion, but I think John is specialized in prisons in Delaware, Maryland, and Philadelphia area.
Oh, sure. But their whole circuits, they all know all the people that
The prison
decide.
circuit.
That is, and they decide, who they know people in other places, and if they knew Nenad's story and all that he's done, and he wasn't saying for $4 million he'll come by and speak to a convict, if he's not out there as a stone hustler, Philistine, full greed ahead, give me a gig, too bad I'm not able to, that I have to stoop down to your level. Approaching people because you want to do it and you love it, that's one place I think that they would be receptive to that, especially those people, because they're interested in rehabilitation rather than torture.
He's the executive producer of New Beginnings, Next Step Incorporated. He has a
Yeah.
telephone number. He has a telephone number 573-673. Booking or call. Let's call him immediately. Let me take the phone.
It's exciting. Nenad doesn't wait.
No.
He seizes the day.
There are two numbers. Let's see whether anybody will answer. Do you know John or no?
Oh yeah.
I know John, and David knows him very well.
Okay. May I mention your name?
Of course.
It's a woman's voice. You can talk among yourselves, like sing
talk.
Saturday Night Live.
Too much dead air, huh? I'm sorry that Murray Weinstock is not with us tonight. Doug, do you know the story with Murray?
Yes, he has obviously forgotten.
Uh-oh.
I will call him now, though.
Yeah, because I'm sure
My name is Nenad
if
Bach.
you call him, he'll come on.
Hello? Yes, John, I'm here on live Zoom with David Amram and Doug Yeager. I'm a musician from New York, and they're on a Zoom right now with me. And we are talking about prison because I live in Austin, in New York, and I want to play in the prison. So they mentioned, do you mind if I put you on a speakerphone? They can hear you. Just a moment. Can you talk now? John? Yeah. You can talk. David, John can hear you.
We have David Amram.
Oh, John, I was just telling him about that wonderful recording that I was on with you, that beautiful song about your mother, and then seeing you, and I didn't mention seeing you in the truck when you had all your kids and you were leaving that was the last time I think I saw you, but I know Nenad since he first came to New York 36 years ago from Croatia, and he's been all around the world, and then he got Parkinson's, but instead of retiring and expiring, he started a whole thing of Parkinson's with ping pong, and he's playing music again, and he said he lives right close to Sing Sing prison. I played Attica, Dannemora, and a lot of other prisons, but I'd never played Sing Sing, so I'm not, as they say, hip to the circuit, but I know that probably there are people who run those things, and I don't know how to do that, and it wouldn't be a financial thing. He just loved to do it. He has a wonderful song, and he's a great guy, or I wouldn't dare mention you, but he's a really good person. I've known 36 years, and he helps other people now, and I thought, boy, it'd really be nice if he could do that. But I don't know how to get in there except to do something where I have to be a convict.
Yeah, it's going to break the law. I don't have any connections to any prisons outside of Delaware, David, unfortunately. I run a nonprofit that works with inmates in the state of Delaware. So those are the prisons that I have access to, and it's only very rarely that I actually perform in them. It's mostly I run support groups for the guys as they get ready to come out of prison.
Oh. Is there any person, I guess we could probably go online and call up something and find out from some upstate New York or something.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the only, I don't know of any national circuit or organization. It seems like every warden is its own fiefdom. Every prison is its own, sort of Kremlin. And they have bosses and way of doing things. At least that's the ones that I've run into. But it'll take a little bit of sleuthing. But my experience is that the best way through to the warden is via the chaplain. Because sometimes things people to come in through the chapel service. It's a little bit looser if you can, stage something in the chapel, but that's just the way. That's been my experience. So.
Well, that's good. That's good for Nenad to know, because I'm sure the chaplain would be easy to reach, and then they would check out Nenad and check his character. There wasn't just
Right. That sounds excellent.
Somebody looking for trashy publicity off the sufferings of the inmates, because we've all seen.
Yeah. I mean, there's not really too many people that are interested in exploiting these opportunities.
No, I didn't mean that the prisoners. When I played the band, it was like phenomenal each and revealing every time. But so there are some people that go in there, but they do it as like everything else, like a publicity stunt, helping the underprivileged with a patronizing attitude for some cheap publicity, and that's the way of getting a shot. And not that I'm disrespectful of people who want to feed their families, but there's a moral side to everything we do, and that's about as immoral as you could get. As I said before we called you up, I said John's the type of guy whose commitment to that is not those who believe in torture rather than rehabilitation. So, Nenad has a big heart, and I thought maybe that'd be just some way he could do that. But please send my love to your family, and I hope we get to see you sometime.
John, this is Doug, just wanting to say hello. And how is your family doing?
If you want, John, I can put you on a Zoom. If I can send you the Zoom link if you want to. We are live.
Oh, okay.
I'm very fascinated by John to know a little bit more about what he does.
Do you mind, John, if I can send you a link on John?
No.
Okay,
Well,
let me just see your email if I can see. Just a moment. If I have the right email.
I haven't seen David since probably Woody Fest 5 years ago, and it's been even longer.
That's when we did the tribute. It's with Sonny Oaks. Was that the one?
Is it information at johnflynn.net? Is that a good one?
John at johnflynn.net. Yes, sir.
John or information?
John.
John at johnflynn.net.
At johnflynn.net.
Okay.
I'll never see the information.
Okay. You can talk, and I'll try to send it.
All right. Pulling up my mail here.
And John, if you can hear me, I think the last time we saw each other was in Tulsa at the Woody Guthrie Center with you and Reggie Harris and Josh White Jr. myself.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yes, that was a great day.
But you and Josh also played together maybe after that, and
in Dallas.
No, and well, that I wasn't there, but I was thinking,
Yeah, at the Masonic Hall down in D.C., I think, right?
yes, Alexandria, wherever it was. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
So the message was sent to John at
Well, I'll see if I can pull it up.
johnflynn.net.
So I run a nonprofit that works with inmates as well as returning citizens, and I just got back from the returning citizen meeting for the guys that have come out of prison and are trying to navigate re-entry.
Yeah, David, you can say that we want to capture the audience. That's why we play the prison.
Yeah, I had to hold back from saying a true captive audience. You know?
Captive audience.
Well, when I played Attica, Spider Martin was a great copyist with the Rochester Philharmonic in 1973, and I was up there playing, and he said, "Man, if you want to see how good you are, come to the joint with me," because he had been there as a imprisoned person twice, and he was a brilliant graphic artist. He was the music copyist for the Rochester Philharmonic when he had perfect penmanship, and he said with his gifts playing jazz, and he just wasn't able to survive, so he became a counterfeiter because he was so good. He was fantastic until he got caught. Then they got caught a second time, and he said, "Whoa, third time Rockefeller Law. I'm in there for forever." So they needed a music copyist for the symphony. He was a great tenor saxophone player. So we went there, and we were playing, and it was after being getting over being terrified. We started playing, and you could just feel everybody there was like the super connoisseur audience. So I said, "Man, this is fantastic playing for these guys." And he turned to me and whispered and said, "Man, this is where all the jazz fans in America are." But the amazing thing was they had a prison band. A lot of these guys were in for double life sentences, but boy, could they play. And you realize that music gave them some kind of a life in that terrible situation that they were in, and how lucky all of us were who weren't ever caught and weren't serving any time, just to realize that we should never allow ourselves to be imprisoned with the boo-hoo whinology, poor me, they don't appreciate art in America, all that crap, which is the other side of the same coin, really, and that we should just be grateful not to be permanently there, and to realize that the people who are there are also human beings that did get caught. It doesn't mean that they all were great people, but that's also true of people who aren't in prison. But just to keep our minds free and remember that we're all human, and to remind ourselves how lucky those of us who are humans who are not living in the prison don't allow ourselves to be imprisoned with bad ideals and bad conduct.
Anyway, I want to welcome John. John,
Yes.
thank you very much for joining us.
Well, it's nice to meet you.
John.
Nice to meet you.
This is our monthly meeting called Hangoutology.
And my video isn't working, so.
We all have addictions to hang out, and we fix on the first Tuesday of the month.
Where's John's picture? I saw him for a second.
John is, you just put on a view in the upper right corner. You click view and put the gallery. In the upper right corner, there is there are nine dots. It says view. David.
What?
Upper right corner, there is a called view.
I see. I'm sorry. I got it.
Upper right.
You see John now?
You put gallery.
I did?
Gallery.
Oh, wait a minute. Apple ID. Do I click that? Wait, just a second.
You. No,
Okay. Oh, sorry.
Right, upper right corner on Zoom.
Zoom meeting. There's a. Oh, wait a minute. Doug Yeager, Michael Spudik. I see Nenad Bach. Oh, view. Okay. I hit that. Do I hit the
view in
blue.
the gallery.
There he is. John, what's up?
Hey, brother.
There we go.
Good to see you, man. No, that was the one we did was with Sunny Oaks came all the way there, and each of us had to do 2 Phil Oaks songs.
Okay, so that was probably in New York.
I think it was in we were all. I was terrified because she was sitting on the side, and she knew every word.
That's right.
Every word of every song.
I'm familiar with that dynamic.
Yeah, boy, but she was so great. But she loved his stuff, and she wanted to she loved you, man. I know, and she wanted to have people get it right.
Yeah, she's a dear friend.
Yeah,
I just talked to her last week. She just had both knees replaced, I think.
Oh.
I think one leg,
One? Okay.
Yeah.
And
but at 85, that's enough.
yeah, she's so fiercely independent.
Oh yes,
she's my hero.
she's great. And boy, with her, she starts on time, and she ends on time.
Yeah, well, that's
No, she's the best.
I spent many a day, on a long car ride with Sunny, and she likes to keep to the schedule.
Well, microphone is yours, John. Tell us whatever you want, because we are listening.
Oh, gosh.
What do you do lately?
Well, like I said, I've been back to work in the prisons. We had to put our programs on hold because of COVID for a couple of years. Didn't have access to the penitentiary, but I've been back inside of 2 prisons in Delaware now for about 2 months, and then I run a support group for guys that come out every Tuesday night, and it's because now we've incorporated Zoom. We have returning citizens who have left the state but still stay in touch with us. So from Myrtle Beach and from Tennessee and from Texas, and it seems to be this idea, just like you guys, hanging out together and cutting through some of the BS and holding each other accountable. And there's no judgment involved, but some hard questions are often asked, and it seems to help guys overcome the stigma and the challenge. And they say it's nice to be in a group where you don't have to explain what you've been through and how you're feeling. So that sense of community seems to be a value. So I've devoted more and more of my time. July 5th was my 17th year of volunteering in the state prison when I started with the group. So I've grown up and grown old doing this.
Very, very noble of you. Very noble.
Well, it's ultimately, as I'm sure you would guess, a very selfish, self-serving endeavor, because you get a lot more than you give.
More artists need to think that way.
We just did a pretty cool panel for NERFA, and I think it's on Spotify. They did it as a podcast with Chris Matthews and Reggie Harris and me. And I think artists would be more involved if they weren't, if they knew how much value they could bring to the table. I would have never gotten involved unless I was coaxed, and I was coaxed. I turned down the offer twice before the Franciscan friar that roped me into this thing prevailed. And it's not a religious group, but the Franciscans started it, and I quickly learned that if you have a pulse, you've got something to offer, and it's really all hands on deck time right now. So people with pulses are in need.
John, is there a component to this with the Franciscans? Is that part of what started your journey with the topic?
The Franciscans, actually, it started in Attica. The Holy Name Province used to send some friars into Attica prison, and it was called the Cephas Project, after Peter's, I guess, Greek name. St. Peter's name. But when they started, they moved to Wilmington, Delaware, and when they went into the prison, Gander Hill Prison here in Delaware, there was a correctional officer named Cephas who was apparently a real son of a bitch. So they decided they couldn't use that name, and they started New Beginnings. And it wasn't to convert anybody to Christianity or Catholicism or anything like that. It was just about being in solidarity, with the guys and trying to figure out how we could help. And so when they left, they were, Brother David was transferred out of here 17 years ago. He's now the chaplain at the Walter Reed Medical Center. But he asked me to take over, and I was singularly ill-equipped. No experience or training or education that would even make me remotely competent at this kind of thing. But I said yes, and I kept showing up until I figured out that if I could shut my mouth and open my ears and my heart, I might be able to do a little good. So, at one point I just said, guys, this is your group. There's no guards here. There's no microphone. There's no camera. I don't talk to the warden. This is 90 minutes that we have. You tell me what we need to talk about. And they took ownership of it. And, I was just kind of like the referee. I would get the playing field put aside and kick the ball back in when it went out of bounds and we strayed too far afield in our topic. But and then after a few years, they said, a couple guys were getting released, and they said, can we do this on the outside? And it meant that much to them that we started meeting for coffee once a week, and that grew into the nonprofit. So now we give bus passes and gift cards to the grocery store and special needs grants, and so I'm raising money from my music. Like I'm doing a benefit tomorrow at the Hedgerow Theater and Media, and I raise money from my fan base to keep the nonprofit going.
Does anybody know? I'm just reading about Sing Sing. When was the Sing Sing open? Which year?
I don't know.
I think it's going back, closer to the turn of the last century, 1920s, 1910s.
1826. 1826.
Wow.
Capacity is 1700.
Expression sent up the river. For a New Yorker, you hear Sing Sing. It's like you're being sent up the river.
How do you get to the chaplain? How do you get to just call the number and ask who is chaplain, I guess? John.
How would I don't know if you call the prison directly through their main line and ask to be patched through to the chaplain, I'm sure he would get your message.
Okay, wonderful.
If there's no other information online.
There's also, I see, Warden Michael Capra.
Wardens tend to be difficult to get responses from.
Yeah.
Cold calling has been my, of course, I've only dealt with 4 or 5 prisons here in Delaware, so I'm not an expert, but I would assume New York might even be tougher.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the great suggestion, actually, because I wouldn't think of it. Yeah.
The first time that I was able to put on a concert at the prison, it was through the intervention of the chaplain, and most of the prison concerts I've done have been in the chapel. Most of them don't have, and unless it's Johnny Cash coming in, they're not going to use the basketball court or something and bring in a PA system. So the chapel's kind of set up, with PA and with seating for, 150 people or something like that.
I saw that they have a museum in Sing Sing. They have a museum there.
That doesn't surprise me. It's a famous prison. I'd be interested to go through that museum.
Yeah. Well, maybe we can do something together. So.
Well, I'm anxious to find out more about you, sir. You certainly
Are you in New York anytime
any...
soon, John? Are you coming up for any reason to New York?
I'm playing at. No, I don't think anytime soon. I'm playing at the People's Voice Cafe sometime this year, but I can't recall what date that is. But I don't think it's imminent.
So, anyway, I'll send you some material. Somebody snatched my domain name, nenadbach.com, because I not to pay. Every 5 years I pay, and then it expired. for the last 25 years I had it, and somebody snatched it. So, but anyway, I'll send you some links for me.
Please do.
Yeah. So that you can see what I do.
And our friend Michael here, just for your reference, John, he's in the classical division at ASCAP. I don't know whether you belong to ASCAP.
You might belong to ASCAP or BMI.
I belong to ASCAP, Michael.
Hey, welcome. Nice. I hope they're treating you okay. If not,
It's not your fault.
yeah, that's good. But that's, yeah, nice. I was going to ask John reference to Nenad and his deep interest in music, and ping pong is a topic with Nenad that's very, and Parkinson's. Like, is your experience, like, are there within the prison system, is this a sensitivity, and is there a level of understanding for, like, issues like with ping pong as a therapeutic, and I don't know, an addition to, the palette of things that could be, social and help people to mingle and associate more? Because Nenad finds incredible power from ping pong, but especially through the healing that he's experienced with Parkinson's. It's an amazing topic with Nenad right now in the world.
I've read just a little about it, and in answer to your question, there's no resources or much interest in for any kind of therapeutic or recreational or
even recreational.
I mean, the prison that I work most in has a basketball court that doesn't get regular use. There's no yard, there's no outdoor time. There's no workout room. It's literally, a warehouse for about 2,300 men. And
wow, and you're working with, these conditions, right? Or trying to do your best.
Yeah, and it was drilled into me early on that I could not be an advocate for improving conditions, or I would lose access to the men, and I would be unable to do anything. So I had to, I have about 6 or 7 volunteers, and when I bring them on board, I have to tell them no letters to the editor. If you decide that that's the way you got to go, you're going to have to leave the group, because we are guests in the warden's house, and we got to really be minding our P's and Q's. But it's tough sometimes.
Tough world, yeah. Doug, has your client Josh White Jr., does he do any work with prisoners or this type of?
He did for many years.
Yeah.
Working with what he was working in is they closed a juvenile detention center in Detroit, and now these kids were then sent to a hardline prison. And so he went to prisons to work with those kids, and they'd write songs together, and he'd go there once a month and they'd sing the songs that they wrote, etc. But it was very difficult for them because, they didn't belong in a prison with killers, and because they stole an apple from a vegetable stand. And so obviously the prison system needs a lot of repair in America.
Yeah, constant.
I just send you, John, one email with some music.
Thank you. We just had a discussion tonight at the Next Step group, the Returning Citizens group. I've attended the Homeboy Global Network several times. Father Greg Boyle runs the Homeboy Industries out in Los Angeles, and it's just an amazing, facility for getting people who are gang involved or coming out of prison, help them take steps into a new life. And anyway, they have this conference in August every year. People come from all over the world that are doing this, sensitive to this kind of work, and trying to slog away in their little towns all over the place. And I thought someday all these people have to come together, perhaps march in Washington together, and raise a real loud voice. There's more people in this fight than we realize because we're so disparate. We're so spread out. There's no single voice that speaks for these conditions and these people. So
there was recently a 60 Minutes piece of the German prison and U.S. prison. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh, wow. Missed that.
I'm sure we didn't. I'm sure we didn't stack up well. I've read that it's in Texas it's been like 110 degrees inside the prisons.
Oh my.
Weeks, So, but there's no votes for a politician to run on more humane treatment of our brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
And until we figure out a way to get around that, it's not going to change.
Anyway, I wanted to ask you would you be interested to come again maybe next month with us to hang out with us a little bit?
What's your Tuesday schedule looking like?
I usually get home from my the support group at about 9 o'clock, so I'd be honored to jump in. So
we can start maybe a little bit later next
Sure.
Tuesday. That's the first Tuesday of the month.
Well, like I said, I'd be honored.
Wonderful, wonderful. So anyway,
yeah, this is actually making up for lost time. Nenad, are you thinking of the first Tuesday of August as the next, or what is your schedule?
We could do first Tuesday in August. Yeah.
Is that soon? Is that next week?
Well, maybe let's see. Let me see the calendar.
Look at the calendar. Yeah.
Yeah. We have freedom to decide whatever we want. Because I traveled and it was difficult for some reason last month.
You were in Portugal.
John, I would just say about Nenad that, and he was just telling us earlier, 12 years ago he contracted with Parkinson's, and he could no longer play the guitar. And I remember when his hands were trembling a lot. And then someone told him about the therapy of ping pong. And he said 4 months after he started playing ping pong, he could play the guitar again. And that was 12 years ago. And a lot of people, after 12 years, they're dead, or they're in total bad shape. But Nenad, his hands don't shake, as you can see. He plays the guitar because he plays ping pong.
Oh my goodness!
And so he started ping pong for Parkinson's and made it international, open ping pong centers around the world. And he just came back from a tour of Europe where each country had a ping pong for Parkinson's tour.
Yeah.
And he showed us all the medals he won in the tour for competing in it.
David Amram is shaking, because there's competition. There might be more to put around Nenad's neck.
Just to correct Doug, nobody told me about therapy of ping pong. Somebody just invited me to play, and I figured out that it helped me.
How about that?
So then I increased to 2 times a week. And then I felt next day better. And then I increased to 3 times a week. And after 3 months, I could play syncopation again. So well, I'll send you a short film, John, so you can see it. 5 minutes long film.
Please, that's astonishing. And I'm not a very good ping pong player, so maybe I'll have to figure out a way to get access.
It's good. I thought also there must be prisoners who have Parkinson, probably.
Right, that would be such a wonderful thing.
Undoubtedly, because there's many guys who are old, and
yeah.
But usually at the point where the medical condition gets bad and expensive, that's when they let them out. The state doesn't want to carry that part of it, so they get very merciful when you get really sick.
It's good for everybody. Ping pong is good for everybody because it's movement, it's condition, it's a reflex, it's exercise. It's cardio, you know, and it's
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you: do they have like the Wii version of ping pong? You know that you can play with the television.
I have actually virtual reality. I have
Saw it in your film. Yeah.
Quest.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll show you. That's the is
Oh, okay, sure. The helmet, right? Oh man. And does that give you a challenging workout when you use that?
absolutely yes. It's in 10 minutes I'm completely wet.
How about that?
Completely. And you can play it with anybody in the world. Yeah. It's called 11. And we already had world championship. So so I can introduce that that will be something very valuable in prison because people will be able to play outside.
Someday that'll happen. They've recently introduced iPads to the cell blocks or the pods. There's only a couple of them, but guys are getting to do FaceTime with their families. They can take them back to the cell for a while and read books and listen to music. It took a long time, but at some point, I'm sure that's going to be a reality that they'll have, because the technology is getting so inexpensive, and there's really no downside, you know.
Yeah, more they have a real life, better they will be when they got out.
That's absolutely, and it would make it a safer place, you know. We had a riot here in Delaware 3 or 4 years ago where a prison guard was killed.
Oh.
And you know, it started to wake up the governor and some of the politicians to the fact that making these guys' time more productive and more humane would actually make the guards safer and would actually make the situation more endurable for everybody involved.
I'll check on YouTube. They have on 60 Minutes. Let me just check. 60 Minutes. Prison.
So, John, it's fascinating with Nenad how one thing leads to another. And this interest with ping pong, he's working with Will Shorts over the years, the guy who's the puzzle master.
Sure.
He has a tennis or ping pong center in Westchester, and he and Nenad are very close with projects and topics.
Oh, man, what a small world.
Which is like another amplification, you know?
I found it. So let me just, my fingers are shaking a little bit, but I'll send you, I'll send you the link.
Thank you.
In the email. I think that everybody should see this. This is fascinating.
I did see it when it was on 60 Minutes. It was amazing. I think in Norway, one of the Scandinavian countries, hardened prisoners are in a like an apartment complex, and they can come and go.
Yeah.
If they want to leave the prison, they can.
Yeah.
But they promised them that they would stay there, and they do. And it's a great learning process for the prisoners.
Yeah, I will put in the chat here. I don't know if it will copy. I don't know if it will copy, but I will send you in an email.
Oh, okay.
Well, thank you.
Just go now in the email.
I know it's a little late, but John, we didn't ask you if you have time to talk.
Well, you've been in the middle of dinner.
Well, I was watching a movie with my wife, but she was very gracious enough to let
fleetingly, she's just
put it on pause. So, but I don't usually pick up anymore because I get so much spam calls. If I don't recognize a number, I'll let it go to voicemail. I saw Croton on Hudson, and I thought that's where Amram lives. I can't imagine they're trying to sell me insurance for my automobile or whatever. So.
As a matter of fact,
or maybe that's exactly what David's calling.
Have I got a bargain for you?
That's David's newest gig.
As a matter of fact,
Pick your
David,
brains how to get into a prison.
T-shirt Kathy is one of my volunteers, and she was on our Zoom call tonight.
Oh, she's great.
She'll be tickled that I ran into you this evening.
Yeah, she's terrific.
I send these links to you, all of you. Anyway, so maybe we can end this hangoutology tonight. Thank you, everybody.
Great hang.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Nenad.
Nice to meet you all.
Yeah, nice to meet you, John.
And let's go.
David, stay healthy. You had a little bit going on there, and you're fine now.
Oh, definitely. And just to tell you, John, it started out when I was suggesting, I didn't hear Nemeth say he wanted to go to Sing Sing. I said, well, to Doug Yeager, I said, we should go see the people at the Figaro because they're from Croatia and maybe they would appreciate what Nemeth is doing. And then he mentioned, and then they said, no, he was asked about getting to Sing Sing, and he talked about the people from Croatia and the Figaro, and said, oh my God, I didn't hear that. But then I said, the only people I know that work for prisons that musicians would be the best way. I said, calling up a warden or a politician would be probably hopeless. And they said John Flynn, because I remember.
Right, he ruled all that out.
And I just mentioned that, and then Nemeth, I don't know how he did it, but he picked up the phone and with his knowledge, a minute later, there he was calling you, and I said, wow, this is great. Plus, it's wonderful just to see you and hear you and know what you're doing. And I guess, what you said, we should all put on the wall, which is you get more of this out of what you're doing than anybody. It's almost like not a selfish, but a self-gratifying thing to be doing something as you've been doing it, which you do in your music, but you do that in your life too. And that's why you're the kind of guy we all appreciate.
Oh, thank you.
And now you look just as great, man. To see you smile in the program, I said, boy, that sure is refreshing to see somebody that's still for real and didn't get swamped into the death trap of so many people, or become imprisoned in all those foul, unrewarding ways that people become in the full greed ahead. So just having you in the program is a great gift to all of us, and it's wonderful to see you again. And I'll tell T-shirt Kathy I'll drop your name too, and she's great, and all you guys on the program are. And Doug, I'm taking your advice and listening more than ever.
And since you're still fighting COVID, David, get to bed when we hang up here.
That's a manager.
Well, I have to answer all my angry emails first, but I will.
David, your manager said you have to get some sleep.
I know. He's been telling me that for years, and he's great. And Doug, I appreciate your sage advice. And if I could practice it, I'd be a bad cat. But in the meantime, I admire all you guys, and it's just so nice to know that there are people in the world. I'll just quote Pete Hamill after Robert Kennedy, and Pete, was an Irish American cat that came from the streets, and God bless him with his brilliance and wonderful character. Was the editor. He did everything, and he was going around with the famous people, but he never lost being for real. So he came to the Lion's Head the night after. We were all pretty gloomy. That was a big village hangout. And finally someone said to Pete, boy, we're just grieving tonight. He had the second Kennedy got it. And he said, well, they were two rich boys that gave a shit. And the way he said it was so beautiful. It just makes all of us think to admire those who do care about others as well as themselves. And that's a good thing. Not because people come out and introduce themselves that way, because they are that way. So God bless you, Pops. And glad we stumbled into, all of us, to get to see you.
Nenad, thank you for having us all tonight.
Good night.
Thanks always for the gathering.
Have a good night.
I'll see you. I'll inform you next time.
Good night, gentlemen.
Everybody hang out in peace.
Bye.